Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rwagnation Online League here in Britain. I'm Ben Raggan McConnell, and joining me today is a very special guest, Kai Bacchini. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks, Ben.
Good. You having a nice day out at the track?
Yeah, having a really good day at Brands Hatch watching the BTCC and Formula 4.
Well, now you've come to settle down with some F1 2018 to round off your night. We are here in Britain, as you said earlier, it is your favourite track, and currently it's Williams that are leading the constructors' standings by one individual point. We've got some very quick drivers out on the actual field, and I'm hoping to see that maybe we can switch around the constructors just a touch. There is 18 turns in this track. There are 2 DRS sections in particular. Oh, 3, sorry, I correct myself. There are 3 DRS zones. With some very beautiful opportunities for overtaking, some very legendary corners, especially Maggots and Beckett's, where we've seen a lot of interesting moves, shall we say. All of the British Grand Prix that have been happened here since 1926 have always been held in England, not been held anywhere else. And for those of you that aren't aware, we did have to cut down the Rwagnation League down quite a touch because of the fact that the new game released. So, hot lap time.
I'm Kassa, and we are here on Hot Lap with Season 1 champion Beaker and current Ferrari driver for a Hot Lap around Silverstone. Come around that final corner, get that DRS open as you head down the home straight, and then you throw it into turn 1. Abbey, no lifting, straight through, keep it on the accelerator, you go around for turn 2, Farm, into 3, tighten the brake, keep it on that apex, get it back over to the right, throw it into turn 4, and you go through Arena, this double left-hander, straighten up a little bit, and then get onto this second bit of DRS straight now, as you go under the tunnel, down towards Brooklands, turn 6, and this is where you're going to see some really hard overtaking, as that very late apex just there, and then you go through turn 7, which is double right-hander apex, as you can see, hits them perfectly, and just use all the track on the exit, and then go down the original home straight, through Woodcote, turn 8, and then you come up to Copse Corner. You're just going to see a little lift as you go through here, and then through Copse, turn 9, and then you come to the most famous corners of the entire circuit, Maggots and Beckett's, left, right, left, another right, and then the final turn, turn 14, Chapel, as you go down the hanger straight, get that DRS wide open once again, as you come down towards Stowe. Many of you might remember Stowe from many years ago, where Michael Schumacher had a big accident, long right-hander, and then you get wide out, and then get back over to the right as you go into Vale, and really tight corner, and then you go double right-hander for Club for the final 2 corners of the circuit, and there you go, that is a hot lap of Britain.
And now time for the actual qualifying. So here you go, you can see we are 17 minutes remaining of the qualifying session, and with rain as well. It's gonna be a wet one, but I do want to ask you straight off the bat, what's your prediction? P1, 2 and 3. Throw them at me.
Oh gosh, you're asking me this every time, and it gets harder every time because it's getting closer. Very good performance in China from Nick Dunn, absolutely dominating the weekend. And then you had Meister in second from Mizzo in third. So definitely going to have to watch those. Those are going to have to be my top 3. Watching their performance in China was very good in China. Very good performance. Definitely going to have to watch what they can do in Silverstone.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, P1 is, I think we're going to have to give it to Nick Turn. I do also want to pip Forsetti for being up there in the top row as well, because I do have a lot of respect for Forsetti in particular. He's a really, really good driver, and he's a really nice guy. When it comes to the rain, he just turns into a completely different driver, and he becomes an absolute pro in the wet conditions. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to demonstrate his abilities and get himself up there in the top 3, especially given the fact that he only just qualified into the to get into the Rwagnation League, and you know, it was a number of issues as to why he only just qualified, but he's managed to pick himself up. He's really holding his own with the McLaren team, and they're actually making their way back up the constructors' standings, and fingers crossed, we might actually be able to see Forsetti get a race win.
Yeah, hopefully that will definitely what he's going to be aiming for in this race. As you said, if he does do what you're being saying, turn into a beast in the way, he's definitely going to be a contender for that podium finish.
Yeah, so let's take a look at Nick Turn. He's currently out on a outlap. I think he's going to be one of the first few. Let's see, let's look further down. Where's Yoltek and Meister? They're actually further behind. Meister is now on a hot lap. So let's keep an eye on him as he's going around. So the people I want to sort of point out is that Nickturn and Meister are two very quick drivers, two of the best drivers in this league. Alongside them, though, you know, we can't rule anyone out. You've got Just Chilling, who's a really, really quick driver. Default as well. He's a really quick sort of qualifying pace driver. And when it comes to driving in the races, as long as he can keep himself together, he will actually do quite a good job. Yoltek, another driver who's phenomenally quick, and then Mizo. He's someone who last week out we saw him in China racing with Zerd, who's their reserve driver, and they both just dominate so well. They were both on the podium. McLaren hadn't seen a podium like that in ever, so it was really good to see that from the two drivers.
Yeah, but don't count out Rayner, as we saw him with that dominant performance in Australia. Very good performance. Obviously, he had a massive gap in Australia. Do you think he's going to be able to do it in Britain, though, Ben?
I mean, he'll need to live up to his name, won't he, in order for him to be able to actually make it here. You know, having Rayner in your title does mean you got to be good actually driving in the rain. So, you know, it's down to him. He's got to really put himself on the track and push himself to the limits, as the car always does when they're out here. Hopefully, I mean, obviously we don't know what the weather's going to be like in the race, so it kind of puts yourself in a situation of, do you go for a wet setup, providing that the race might be dry, or do you just go for a dry setup and just make the most of what you've got? Well, Rexon, he's done a 139, 119 already, and then Mesa smashed it, 137, 709. I do want to take a look at Nickturn. I have actually been tipped off that Nickturn is probably faster than anyone else in the world in the wet. So I'm told.
Well, that will definitely be giving him some confidence whilst he gets into this round. Let's see where he can go on his lap, though. Yes. Where did he go, sorry?
He did a lap, but it was invalidated, so he had to go again.
Oh, right. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's still signed P7 with that time, unfortunately. Whereas Default, though, he is coming through and into... That was a nice little run there, coming into the final corner. Now, is he going to cross the line and get a good lap time? He does get a time in, but it is a 1:39.526. Not quite as quick as you need it to be.
As you say, Meister is at the top, but if you look now, it's now Lastro who's at the top. As we see Beaker come around on his lap. Is he going to be able to beat that time, though? He comes around the left. Is it going to be able to beat the time, though, as he comes down the straight into the left and the long right?
Yeah, it's a tough sort of little complex, this. When you're going around this right-hander, especially in the wet, it does put such a demand onto the downforce of the car. So if you can hold yourself together... Oh, Beaker's done it. You need to get the exit like he has done in order to maximise running through here. You need to be careful into Cop's corner, especially in the wet. It's a tough corner to make in the dry, and then the wet, you can very easily lose the rear. He's fighting it, but he managed to catch it just and still went off track. Don't think that's an invalidated lap, but that will not be helping his chances. I want to go back to Nickturn because he is about to come across the final few corners. And looking at his lap time, I think he might just be there with Meister. I don't know if he's faster. He might actually just be ahead of his teammate. 136, 37, and he goes just behind his teammate. Wow, that was very close to his teammate. 0.04 of a second separate the two.
And if you look, Honty's just put it up in the third. But it's still Lastro from Meister, Honty, Copy, and Holtic just put it up in the fifth, as I was going to say, it nicked him for top 5, but Holtic just takes it off him.
Yeah, Beaker invalidated, sadly, so he's going to have to go again. Toto's done lap time, he's gone P9 with a 140.1. Forseti, I said he was good in the wet, he's demonstrating it right now, 137.177. So that's currently P1. We have a full course yellow flag at the minute, but I think it's just people moving out of the way, letting other people through. Hazard. So I have a little nickname for Hazard. I call him Captain Consistency. The reason being is because he has a phenomenal level of pace, as well as being able to keep it completely clean almost every race. He very rarely gets a penalty. When he does get a penalty, it's a complete surprise. Sometimes he just needs to be a little bit more aggressive, which he said to me himself quite recently, that he is trying to improve that. When it comes to the practice sessions, he's being extra aggressive. He did also say, and I have been on the receiving end of it, that's a Haas car. Is that Yonti? It is Yonti. Yonti's off track.
That will definitely be affecting his front wing if he did hit the barrier. Doesn't look particularly like he's got any major damage to his front wing. But as I was saying, watch out for Rayner because he's put it on provisional pole right now.
Yep, 1:36.712, a very quick lap time, 4/10 faster than what was our previous pole position sitter. It's going to be a lot for him to do. Mizo's still in the pits, hasn't yet done a lap time. Beaker's out on track at the minute and coming round into the final corner now. What sort of lap time is he looking at? It's not looking like a too quick one, but he's gone P11, 1:38.319. So I get the impression that it's going to be dry in. That was almost a moment. Oh, sorry, Beaker wants to know if you've ever been to Tokyo, and he's going to show you how to drift. Mizo's out now, on an outlap. Just literally just come out of the pits. So a lot of people have done lap times. Inaudible Gamer, he is resetting himself and going into the pits. Whereas Hazard, I'm not sure if he's giving it the full beans. I don't think he is. He's in mode 2. But surely he would want to go... Oh, Rayner! 1:36.169. That is a full second faster than P2, which is also a change. That's now Buemels, who got himself up there. 1:37.156. So Renault having a bit of an upsy-downsy day. It's looking pretty good for them.
As you were saying, Rayner's going to have to live up to his name. Looks like he is so far. But as you were saying, we don't know what conditions it is going to be for the race. But if it is dry for the race, what do you think the strategy is going to be?
Well, the fact that it is, if it does end up being dry in the race, it does mean that the drivers will have the opportunity to go on full brand spanking new tyres. So that the stint will be a lot easier to pull off. They don't necessarily have to worry about how many laps they do in the qualifying. So I think a one-stop is definitely the strategy. Going onto the hard compound just doesn't seem to make sense. The time difference between the mediums and the hards are just so marginal, but the performance difference you get from the mediums and the hards, it just feels like the hards do not get any sort of temperature in them. And you know, if you make a mistake, you can lose that temperature very, very swiftly. And the mediums are a little bit more forgiving, and you know, like I said, the gap difference between them, it just makes sense to just go softs to mediums or mediums to softs. I fully expect anybody outside of the top 10 will probably be going mediums to softs. Those in the top 10 will want to be hold on to it and keep themselves battling with the front runners. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. There might be some interesting choices made from the front runners. We've got a Toro Rosso off track there. That is Yolte. Here comes Default. Yeah, where's Mizo? He's on a hot lap, look. RPM glitch as well, so we won't be going on board with him because that noise can get really annoying. We'll keep an eye on him. And yeah, immediately just did it again. Regretted it. So, Default, where is he? He's coming through. I think he's right behind Mizo, isn't he? Yeah, well, he's not far behind him at least. So, who else is out there? Meister's coming out again. Yonti's coming out again with 6 minutes and 45 seconds remaining of the session. It does mean there's plenty of time to improve, and as the track warms up, we may see Rayner's time get smashed by someone else. There's that Nicta, and he's the closest person so far with a 1:36.381. He's now in the pits as well, getting himself reset.
I was just about to say, Nicton's now only 2/10 off Rayner, so Rayner better watch his back because Nicton's right on him. It's dominating performance versus dominating performance. Both have had some amazing performances. It will definitely be a challenge of who's the better driver on this track in this league race.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, Mizo, there you go. 1:36.604. Puts himself up in a P3, and I don't suspect he'll be stopping on this lap. I think he'll be giving it the full beans for the rest of it. Let's have a look at Meister. He's, again, someone else I've tipped to be very quick. Hopefully he can pull himself off and get right through and up into the podium spot. Giving it the full beans anyway. Who else have we got to look at? Falsetti is on an outlap apparently, on the same tyres he went out on the first stint. So I don't know whether or not that was just a mistake on his part or not, but only he knows, and he's going to be trying to fix that regardless of how he does. Where's Inaudible Gamer? Let's take a look. Resetting himself as well. Who do you want to go on board with?
We will go on board with Mizo, I'm guessing, because the top two are in the pits. He's the closest up at the front. We'll be able to see what he can do apart from that RPM glitch, which the noise is really annoying. But
yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else. We can go on board with Meister to see what he can do. He's down in 7th. I'm not expecting him to stay there, though. He's going to be trying to improve his time, definitely.
Yeah, and like we said, he is someone who is capable of being up there with the big boys in P1, 2, and 3. And I fully expect to see him by the end of the qualifying session on the podium. But Mizzo apparently is invalidated. Oh yeah, he's gone into the pits, so he won't be carrying on. Meister giving it everything. Where is he going to be? It's obviously still this little straight here. This right-hander that's coming up is one of my favourite parts on this track, just purely because of how if you can like just clip it perfectly and absolutely tear away if you do it right. Obviously in the rain it's a completely different story, but in a dry situation you can really gun it out of that corner. And you can see some amazing overtakes happen. Here he comes around the final corner now. How's he going to do? He's got 136 under his belt. Oh, he does improve, but not enough to break the 136s.
Very unfortunate. He's now going to be trying as hard as he can with only 3 minutes, 54 seconds left on the clock. He's going to be trying to get on that podium. But as we see, Rayner's done his outlap and he is back on track. As Nick Dunn is on his outlap as well, who is going to be fighting with Rayner for pole position for the race.
Yeah, they're on fresh intermediates. It does mean they can do more than one lap, which is why you've seen them come out so early. In case they do make a mistake and in case they... oh, I was just looking at Rayner's car then, his back end kicked out a bit. Yeah, so they can do more than one lap. They can go ahead and not worry about the amount of wear that they put on these tyres. They just need to worry about the fastest lap they can do. Obviously, looking at the way that Rayner's going right now, he's giving it everything to try and improve his time originally. And so far, he's impressed me way more than I expected him to, even though his name is Rayner.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected this performance from Rayner. I think, as we've seen from previous Grand Prix, everyone was going to think it was going to be dominated by a Nick Dunn, but Rayner showing people who's boss and showing what he can do.
Yeah, and Nick Dunn, when it comes to the actual race pace, he seems to be far more consistent than Rayner, but you know, Rayner has his on and off days. He just needs to work on how he can be more consistent, you know, following the same sort of levels as at Nick Dunn. Because I actually think, in terms of raw pace, I think Rayner is actually faster than at Nick Dunn. It's just that Nick Dunn is way more consistent and confident in his abilities. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I think you're
Go on.
I was going to say, I think you're definitely right with Nick Dunn being a lot more consistent. As we've seen, he's been dominant in quite a few Grand Prix so far. Yeah, he's been very consistent with his lap time so far, Nick Dunn, on these intermediates.
Well, Rayner, final corner. Coming across the line, he's going to improve his already good time. Nope, he couldn't do it that one. So, like I say, the benefit of being out on the intermediate tyres means you can go again. He actually could do 3 laps if you wanted. I don't know whether or not he's going to be able to manage his ERS well enough to do that. But he's definitely going to give it a bash. And Nick Dunn is running the mode 0 right now. Try not to spin his car at least. Mizzo's going again. Lazzaro, he was next to come up to the line. Here he is, coming into the final series of corners. Oh, it looks like he's invalidated. And so he's going to be resetting himself. And there you have it, Beaker right in front of him. That is Season 1 Drivers' World Champion there, that Beaker. A lot's changed since that point. The whole league has been reworked, reformed. It started off as a casual league, and then we decided we need to step it up a bit, match the level of performance that we were seeing from the drivers. So we turned assists off, bar a couple. I think I know that the only assists we've got left on are corners only, and automatic gears for those that use controllers and find it hard to adapt to the gear changes. Every other assist has been turned off. That includes ABS, traction control, pit assists, pit release assists. All of them are controlled by the drivers, so it does put a demand on their driving skills.
Yeah, it will definitely pick the best out of the drivers that try to qualify for the Rwagnation League. As we know, there is a lot of drivers out there on F1 2018, including me, who use assists. I'm going to have to quickly adapt to not using assists if I want to qualify for next season's Rwagnation League. But I think it will definitely be different. Is that Fossetti out of quali? Was that a self-retirement, or was that a crash? I didn't see.
I'm pretty sure it was a decision he made to retire. I think he just didn't see the point in going again. But we are now at the end of the regulation session, so now it's going to be whoever has started a hot lap will be able to finish it. And as it stands right now, Rayner is provisional pole. Nickturn is only 2/10 behind him, and he's giving it everything to try and beat that. I'm just looking at where Rayner is. He's actually doing his 3rd lap. So Lazzaro's crossed the line. He's gone P2 with a 1:36.339, and Nickturn is coming up through the 2nd sector. Mizzo's also across the line. He stays P4. Meister, he's giving it onto the last bit now. And also, we've seen Buemels retire, so P7 is the best he can do. Default across the line going P6. Yonti, Yoltek, Beaker, all 9, 10, and 11. There's a lot of names, actually, outside of the top 10 that I did not expect to be there. But Meister goes P3. Good performance by him. Where is it, Nickturn? He's the only person at the minute now looking possible to take P1 away from Rayner. I kind of want to stay with him, just see how he performs. Here he comes! Oh, he goes P4. He does slightly improve, but it did get invalidated. And so he stays P4. And it's looking like Rayner is going to run away with the pole position.
Yeah, very good performance from Rayner in qualifying. As he come down the straight, is he going to improve? No, he isn't. But unless any drivers that are quite low down right now, Hazard or Copy can pull something out of the bag and take pole off Rayner, then it looks like he might have pole position.
Yep, so Copy coming across the line. He jumps up to P8, so very respectable time there. Hazard, he's going into the pits with no fuel. Okay. And that, unless Rexon's the last one to give it a bash. He's got a little bit of a tow from his teammate, it looked like. Although, no, I think his teammate is now hindering him. Yeah. The AI of his teammate did get in the way, which did ruin Rexon. And across the line. We are just waiting for Hazard to retire. But Rayner has got P1. Very well done by him, and he did it by a huge margin as well. You know, 2/10 separated him from Lazzaro, and then look how close P3 and P2 are. It's literally 200ths of a second between the two of them, and I'm very excited to see the turn 1 battle, whether we're going to see a little bit of contact, maybe even see a little bit of a nudge. But the real question I've got to ask you is, what's your prediction for the race?
I think we're going to have to watch out for a Nickton coming through from... But none of us were expecting that. But watch out for Lazzaro starting on the front row alongside Rayner. Definitely watch out for Rayner. He's starting from pole. Very good lap time from him. But yeah, I think that will definitely going to be the people we're going to have to watch. Beaker will definitely going to be making up some pace places. I think he's got better race pace than he does quali pace. So let's watch him come through pack.
Yeah, and that's the thing that matters. You know, your quali pace can be as amazing as you want it to be. If you don't make it to the end of the race, you're not getting any points. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. So, yes, you did a little preliminary session. If it didn't quite work out how you wanted it to, don't worry about it. Reset your mindset, get yourself on the track, and just demonstrate how well you can actually do in a race environment. And looking at that sky, it's looking beautiful and sunny.
Yep. Looking really dry for the race. It's going to be a game changer. Everyone's going to be on fresh tyres, so it's just going to be the driver's decision which tyres to go on, and it will probably be an equal playing field.
Yeah, I do expect to see majority of the drivers go for softs to mediums. I think those at the back will probably be trying to go from... Oh, actually, I've just had an update on the weather. So it is going to be dry initially, and then it's going to go to light rain, and then it's going to go to full rain towards the end. So, you know, now you're going to see if Rayner's pace was in the qualifying that good, then how's it going to look when it comes to the race later on when the track gets very wet? I don't know whether or not people would have seen the weather report quite clearly and gone, I should probably put a wet setup on, because yes, the dry is going to be here at the beginning of the Grand Prix, and it's also interesting to see a lot of the drivers have actually gone for medium tyres.
I think they're going to be trying to go for that stint on the first half to get to the wet half of the race. But I think we might see 3 stops because for the light rain, they'll probably go on intermediates. And then for heavy rain, people will definitely be switching to full-on wet.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing is that we could actually see these on the softs potentially need to do 4 stops if that is the case. Because, you know, if you're on the softs and you don't quite make it to the rain point, and if the rain comes very swiftly changing through the last third of the race, then, you know, you may actually find those on the softs have got to go into another set of tyres, whether it be another set of softs or mediums, whichever, but then they have to go into the intermediates, then they have to go into the wets. You got to adapt with the weather changes. You can't just, you know, do what you want and then try and figure it out. You got to try and go ahead with what matches the track at the time, otherwise you're going to lose a huge amount of time. When it comes to the rain, when you're transitioning from the dry to the wet, the main thing the drivers need to try and do, and it's a really hard thing to master, which is you want to be in the pits at the time of when race control disable DRS. If you can do that, you've maximized the furthest you can go on the dry tire, and you've also optimized the amount of time that you're going to have on the wet tire, or, you know, whether it be intermediate or wet, whichever it is. That's the best way to sort of maximize your performance, maximize your downput, and we'll see who has been able to do that as we go lining up for the start of the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, I was going to say on the rolling up lap, it looked like one of the McLarens had a little spin around before the last couple of corners. I saw one McLaren in the background do a full 360. Looked like he got going again, but as the lights come on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all lights on, ready to go out. You can do start.
So all the drivers getting a really good start. Renault running a little bit wide. There's a bit of movement there from one of the Haas drivers. I'm just looking around to see who's going to be struggling going through it. Though everybody's doing a beautiful job. Reina holds on to P1. Lazaro, Meister, and Nickton stay exactly where they are. Although Reina now is having a little switcheroo with Lazaro. Lazaro is trying to get a move, but Reina's got the inside. Look at the Williams of Nickton. He's giving it the full beans, trying to get up there in front of Meister. It's not quite worked out at the minute. He's still holding on to P4, and so far it's looking a very tidy start to the race.
I think it will be a bit harder for a Nickton at this start, even though he's a very good driver, as we see absolutely world-class move on Ed Nickton. I think it will be harder for Ed Nickton at this start, and Mizzo as well, because they're on mediums, and the front 3 right now, Reina, Lastro, and Meister are all on soft tyres.
Yeah, exactly. The performance you're going to get from those tyres, especially this early on in the race, the softs will warm up a lot faster than the mediums. The mediums will require a full lap to complete at least, without making any mistakes, to be able to get the tyres up to temperature and optimal grip. The softs, you can do that after about sort of 2/3, 3/4 of the lap. They'll turn on a little bit, and just looking a little bit further back, we've got Buemels who's running alongside Default. He's trying to get an opportunity. He's gone for a switch into the inside. Default's on the outside now, and whether or not it's going to be a move from Buemels or not, no. Default has held it together, but now Yonti's right there, also looking for an opportunity to go down the inside. A bit of a lock-up from the two of them, but no collisions. Kept it clean. Coming into the final 2 corners now, and so far, I don't think we've actually had very many position changes at all. I mean, Rexon's done a beautiful job downfield, and Forseti, actually, never mind, I take all of that I just said back. Forseti's lost 6 places on the opening lap. That's a huge, huge hit for... Oh, look at that move there. That's Yoltek looking for a move down the inside of Yonti. It was a very ambitious dive, but I think he may have pulled it off. Yonti's giving it everything he can to keep it together, and I think it's going to be a drag race into the left-right. I think Yoltek's got it.
Yep, Yoltek has got the move, but Yonti's going to be straight back on the attack, as you see him trying to get that switch back, but if he's not careful, he has Copy right on his bumper, and Copy is trying to make an overtake as they come down the back straight, and they have the flat-out right-hander now, Ben, and if they're not careful later on in the race when it's wet, if the back end steps out a little bit, there's a little bit of a moment for Yoltek. But as I was saying, round that flat-out left-hander, if they're not careful, that back end is going to step out and might cause them problems.
Absolutely. You know, that's kind of where your car setup comes into play. If you've gone for a wet setup, you're not going to have optimal grip on this dry session. So it's going to be just trying to capitalize on where you can. Yonti and Yoltek are still scrapping side by side as they come into the long right-hander. And Yoltek I think he's managed to hold on to it. Yonti is not backing out though. Look at this. If he can go side by side into this quick left-right, then he may actually... No, never mind. I was going to say, if he could stay side by side, Yonti would have actually benefited because he'd have had 2 inside lines, which would have pretty much cemented that position switch around. And we are now on lap 3, which does mean we have DRS. I thought we were going to see Yoltek's back end just take away. Actually, looking further down, I'm just looking at Copy and Beaker. They're having a little battle together. Copy's gone through, and now Just Chillin' and Beaker, these are really good friends as well, and they're just going to be giving each other no room. Lots of respect, but no room. And Beaker holds on to P11.
I did say watch out for Beaker making his way through, but now that means that Just Chillin'. Oh, there's a bit of contact there. Was that contact with Rexon? And oh, that is a big moment there. That's Just Chillin', spinning across the track and just unfortunately collects hazard. Oh, very unfortunate for Captain Consistency. It looks like there was a bit of contact between Rexon and who was it again? Just Chillin'. That will be down to the stewards for that, but that was a questionable move.
Well, here is where you'll see an example of the live stewarding. So the live stewards have, basically they're watching the race, and they're seeing any of these moments on track, and what will happen is the Jeffs of the teams will approach the stewards, present the information, present the evidence, and say, look, this is what happened on track, we want to appeal this, and now that's why we'll see in the race, we will get an update to say whether or not there was a penalty issued, and Just Chillin', no surprise, he is in the pits, along with Captain Consistency himself, who just got a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I called him Captain Consistency, but that was a little bit inconsistent from him.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I think he was in a bit of a rush to get his into the pits after getting collected by Just Chillin' coming across the track. As we see a battle between Meister and Lastro now. I wonder who's going to come out on top of this. If they look very close behind is Mizzo. And as we see, Toto has got a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. The live stewards are definitely doing their job, handing out the penalties if needed.
Yeah, we'll hopefully hear from them soon as to whether or not that is going to be a penalty dished out or not. But I fully imagine that is going to be investigated. Further down, we've got Inaudible Gamer catching up to the back end of Rexon, who we just saw is likely going to be involved in that. And actually, Meister, he's lost quite a lot of pace all of a sudden. And Mizzo, he's woken up. His tyres are alive. He's got the slipstream and DRS along with the ERS. Lazaro may lose 2 places if this carries on the way it's looking. Mizzo's going for an inside move. There's a bit of contact between the two of them. The back end of Meister's getting a little bit of a knock, and actually he ran wide as a result. Meister surely has to surrender that position back again, but not at the minute. They are still going side by side. He's got the inside line going into the second to last, and now he's got the inside for this one. And like I was saying, this is like what Yonti and Yoltek could have had, and now Mizzo does exactly as I was describing earlier, and he's now up into P3.
Amazing move by Mizzo, and now that gives Lastro a little bit of a gap from the 3 drivers behind, and it looks like it is going to be, and Nick Dern is now straight on the attack. Is he going to look for the switchback on this corner, as there's a bit of contact between Meister and Mizzo, and that gives Nick Dern a chance. He's got the DRS and ERS now. Is he going to go on the attack into this corner? No, just a little bit far back, but Meister goes straight for a move. Is he going to be able to make it? No, there's contact. There's contact between Mizzo and Meister, and that lets Nick Dern through on Mizzo, but that's hopefully going to be investigated by the stewards on Mizzo's side.
Yeah, I fully imagine the McLaren Jeff is going to be going straight to the stewards to get that reported, and we'll see what happens there. That was a very, very ballsy move. Mizzo obviously ends up losing out as a result of it. So we'll see what comes from the stewards later on that. They've got a lot of work to be getting on with, and I think they'll be going straight to it and getting on with it. Let's look a little bit further down. We've got Inaudible Gamer, who's right there on the back of Rexon. With is not using the... Actually, this is a 3-way battle. TNMO is the 2 Force Indians are trying to give the Red Bull a sandwich. There's Inaudible Gamer running off the track, so he's going to have to try and recover himself. A bit of a wing there went flying. I'm not sure if that was his teammate or not. Looking at the McLaren of Forsetti as well. He's right there giving it everything. Now we're going for an inside move into the right-hander. He's going to have the no DRS, but he is ahead, and that is a beautiful move by Forsetti.
Amazing move by Forsetti. Just outbroke the car in front of him, which was TNMO. Very good driver, but it just shows how good these drivers are. And Mizzo's going to be straight back on the attack. Is he going to make the move? Very late lunge, but very well executed as well. Meister not knowing where that came from, but Mizzo showing him who's boss.
Yeah, okay, so Mizzo up now in a P4, recovering after the little contact he had with Meister earlier on. He's doing a good job of it, and I'm surprised he's able to do it as early as this with the softs on Meister. You'd have thought that Meister would have been able to just stay up there with the top 3, but no, he's just under so much pressure from the two cars behind, well, now in front of him, Nickturn and Mizzo. Hazard, no surprise there, setting the fastest lap time. I'm just looking, we are starting to see spots of rain. So if you look at the McLaren, just along the halo, you can see rain trickling across, just streaking through. So this is now the danger zone territory. We thought the rain might come a little bit later with the fact that there's a lot of drivers running the mediums, but no, it seems like it's going to be transitioning to light rain. As we were saying earlier, the thing you need to try and work out is, when is the rain going to properly come down? When is the track going to be at a point where we can't race on it any further? If we see the drivers go into the pits, they need to try and make sure that DRS is disabled at the time that they go in. If they can do that, they will have optimized the length of time on the dry stint, but these drivers that are on the mediums will be the ones who've lost out. Except if you're Nickturn and Mizzo.
Yeah. I think in the next couple of laps is definitely going to see where the drivers are pushing, and next couple of laps is going to be the pit window for those intermediates and wet tyres if it does come down hard all of a sudden. As you can see, very dark clouds in the sky, obviously containing rain, and that is Falsetti. Is he going to make the move on Rexon? Very close, but unfortunately cannot make the move this early. But you'll hopefully see him down the straight with the ERS, DRS and slipstream of Rexon. Is he going to be able to make the move into the left-hander? As he comes down, he's got the slipstream. Rexon does not bother. Yes, oh, there's a bit of contact. Little bit of contact. And as you see the rain coming down now, definitely going to see the drivers come in for their intermediates in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, exactly. The rain is starting to really fall quite hard now. When the track becomes just too cold, that's when we're going to see everyone dipping in. And I don't know if you just caught that penalty there, but Mizzo, who's Falsetti's teammate, he just got himself a 3-second time penalty. That is huge come towards the end of the race, especially as I don't think anyone else in the sort of top 5 has got any sort of penalties at all. I mean, they've probably got a couple of warnings, but no penalties have been dished out yet. Falsetti trying to recover where he had earlier on in the race. And the two Toro Rossos, they're actually battling around on the track at the minute. I'm just keeping an eye on the track because I can see the racing line becoming a lot more visible, which does tell me that the rain on the rest of the track is starting to settle a lot more. There was default running a little bit wide. I thought he was going to lose it there, but he's held it. No lockups though, interestingly. So the tyres are still performing, and I don't think we're going to be seeing anyone pit this lap.
Yeah, but if you do look when you're on board with default or any other car, you will see spots of rain on the halo and on the car. As you can see, default's going to make a great lunge on Holtec. Holtec, sorry, is a very experienced driver, but default obviously showing that he can run with the best.
Yeah, so just want to give you a little update from the live stewards. So the stewards have informed me that Buemels is under investigation for potentially retiring on track during the qualifying session, which breaks the rules that were put in place since Bahrain Grand Prix. So there was a bit of contact, actually, I remember, from Bahrain, where somebody retired on track and there was a major collision between the two of them, which caused the qualifying to be in bits. There was no penalty issued as a result of it because he wasn't in control of the car. However, a new rule was put in place as a result, so Buemels may be looking at a penalty of sorts. Further upfield, Mizzo and Meister, they are battling side by side as they're coming into... Oh, we're already seeing people going into the pits. They're all going into the pits. Meister and Mizzo are going to be battling right the way up to the actual line. Meister gets a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That will probably be appealed as... he was nudged into it. I don't think there's going to be a penalty coming in the way of Mizzo, but I do think that 5-second will be nullified for Meister. He just could not stop his car in time. But who is going to be the quickest out of the pits on these intermediate tyres? That was almost a major collision in the pit lane. Who is ahead? It's going to be Reina, right? Yeah, Reina's ahead, followed by Lazaro. Mizzo's actually jumped Meister. I did not see that one coming. What a beautiful little pit maneuver crew there. McLaren have really pulled out all the practice this weekend. And as a result of that, Mizzo's now climbed back up in front of Meister. That's a bigger kick in the teeth, given the fact that Meister did get that penalty for speeding in the pit lane as a result of the nudge from Mizzo. Also to mention, the DRS has just been disabled, so these drivers have just capitalised on that. They made the right decision at the right time, and that's why they're up here now in net P1. Unfortunately for Falsetti, he obviously is Mizzo's teammate, and he couldn't go into the pits whilst Mizzo was in there, and that's why he's seeing, look how much of a difference there is in terms of pace.
Yeah, it looks like Meister might have had to change his front wing because Mizzo has came out 2 seconds in front of Meister, which is time that could have been put on to changing the front wing. Maybe it is from that contact that happened earlier between Meister and Mizzo, but Mizzo, obviously the McLaren pit stop team have been practicing for this weekend because they've done a very good job at that one.
Yep, and they're going to hope to do exactly the same thing for Falsetti, as he's obviously on the medium compounds. He'll definitely be coming to the pits this lap because he can see everyone else around him is just on another level of pace when they're on the intermediates, and he is struggling. Like, you can see it. He isn't mastering the wet conditions. Oh, that was almost a problem, but held it. Don't lock it. Yeah, he's got a problem now. He doesn't know where the board that normally tells you where the pit lane starts has been knocked down as a result of Mizzo and Meister. So Falsetti had a little moment of panic there, which is why he saw all the tyres lock up on his car, which doesn't surprise me. I have been in that situation myself, and it is terrifying. Let's have a look how quick they can be. Oh, that was a beautiful little pit stop there. Yeah, McLaren, like you said, have done what they need to do. Now let's have a look at Buemels. Remember, he is under investigation due to the retiring on track, so we'll see what happened. Buemels closing in on Yoltek. He got a yellow fuel warning light, which does suggest that he well, it means he won't have enough fuel to make it to the end, but in the wet conditions it's better to be running in lean anyway, so we'll see.
Yeah, definitely will be interesting. It looks like it might be a race of time between him and his fuel in his car. He might have not stocked up on enough fuel for this race. As you see, Meister does not have that yellow light on his fuel ignition bar. But it might be a problem towards the end of the race for Buemels if his petrol does run out.
So, a little strategy that these drivers tend to do is that they tend to underfuel their car if they know that the rain is coming. Because running in lean on this track means that you are less likely to spin the rears and lose a lot of time. So I think Buemels has actually done it quite tactfully. I think he's chosen to do that, where he's underfueled the car intentionally, knowing that he can run pretty hot in the actual dry stint on rich revs, knock his fuel even further down, and then go on lean for the remainder of the actual race, and that will generate a lot of fuel for him. You know, it'll preserve it, and he'll be able to just go all the way to the end. It is a lot harder and a little bit more risky, but providing you get it just right and do the mathematics correctly, you should be able to benefit from it, because you'll have a lighter car, and that's much quicker on any track.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you can see, the rain is properly coming down now. When it gets to around lap 15 to 20, you might see a couple of drivers coming in for wets instead of intermediates. As you see, Meister having a little bit of a slide of the rear end coming off that corner, and that might just lose him that battle between him and Mizzo.
So, we have further updates from the live stewards. So the stewards have informed us that Rexon has a 5-second time penalty for dangerous driving for causing a collision that we saw earlier with Just Chillin'. So that'll be news to Just Chillin's ears, except he's still all the way down there in P18. He was having a really good start, and it just fell apart for him. But still, justice has been served.
Yeah, as you can see, the live stewards doing a very good job of what they do. Falsetti now coming up on TNMO. Don't know if he's going to be able to make a move this lap, but if you keep on board with him and keep your eye out for him, as TNMO makes a massive mistake, and Falsetti's now all over the back of him. He's going to have the slipstream down the straight, but unfortunately no DRS. TNMO goes defensive. It looks like Falsetti's going to have to dive to the outside. Is he going to be able to pull it around the outside? It looks like he might be able to. He has the inside for the corner, and yes, he does. Falsetti, amazing move, but TNMO is still on the attack, and he has to back out and tuck in behind Falsetti, but absolutely amazing move.
Yeah, Falsetti really pulled it out. He's really living up to the name, the hype that I gave him of being a very quick person in the wet. He's just the Rainmaster, absolutely. He's taken the reins tight. Oh, is that TNMO gone wide? Yeah, he's ran really wide there. It just looked like he'd lost the back end a bit, and he managed to keep himself out of trouble, but yeah, major off there. That's brought a huge margin now between him and Falsetti. Falsetti now has the benefit of being able to just run away with that position and feel very comfortable in P12. So, Mizzo, which is Falsetti's teammate, he's up there in P3, holding on to the podium position at the minute, the final one, but Meister is trying to do what he can to make that that dream a nightmare for Mizzo. We'll see. There was a bit of contact early between Meister and Mizzo, so I'm fully expecting there'd have been at least some sort of appeal earlier. Mizzo did have to recover. We also have an update from lap 4. Mizzo has a warning for unsportsmanlike driving. I'm not sure what that is in regards to. I don't remember anything in particular that happened. It might have been something that happened that we didn't see. So Mizzo having a warning, which is very fair. We'll see what happens going further on into the race. So, just looking at the lineup right now, Rayner's still holding on to P1, living up to his name, giving a really dominant performance so far. 2.5 seconds ahead of Lazaro, who's P2. Mizzo in P3, he's had a very up and down situation. We just heard about the warning that he's just received, but also in terms of the actual positions. I think he's gained a few since the start. No, he's down one, sorry. No, sorry, he's up 2. I was looking at Meister. Yeah, he's claimed 2 places so far. He started off in P5, climbed up today, he's now on the podium, needs to hold it together, but with Meister chasing him so quickly, that could really play a major part on him and ruin the rest of his race. Further down, Meister in P4, and Nicter in P5. He's not had a particularly great race. Yoltek P6, Buemos P7, Beaker P8, Yonti P9, Default, who just got a penalty, 3-second time penalty. He's P10, and then the best of the rest so far is Copy, but it's looking likely that Falsetti might actually be able to climb himself into some points, especially if McLaren can deliver another top-notch pit stop if we get to the heavy rain situation.
Yeah, and I did say at the start of the race, watch out for Beaker making his way through the pack. Obviously, must be the speak of the devil because it's my words. He has been making his way through the field, and he's up into 8th right now. 3 seconds behind Buemos, but he's definitely going to be plucking away at that time.
Yeah, actually, look, speaking of Buemos, let's have a look down at him at the minute. He's currently battling with Yoltek. They're looking for an opportunity. Falsetti gets a 3-second time penalty. It's going to be a bit of a lock-up there from Buemos, but he's managed to keep his car pointing in the right direction. Yoltek still holds on to P6. Again, no DRS available whilst this rain is as bad as it is. It's going to probably get worse to go towards the end of it. It's looking likely. I do want to just also keep an eye on the track outside of the racing line, because we need to keep an eye out to see if we can see any puddles or any sort of standing water. If there is any standing water, you'll be seeing an emergency dash into the pits for these cars to get some wet tyres on, because if you step into that wet, you will very easily aquaplane and find yourself buried in a wall somewhere.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to run into some standing water in the wet. As Beaker gets a 3-second time penalty, that's definitely going to give a bit of a play to Yonti behind him. He has just got over 3 seconds, but if Yonti plucks away at that time, he is going to be able to be in a position to get that 8th position.
So, further updates from the stewards. Meister has received a 3-second time penalty for causing a collision with Mizzo, causing him to lose control and places. That was the one we did see on stream, where Meister did just push into the back end of Mizzo and sent his car pointing in the wrong direction. Mizzo did very well to recover. He's obviously back up there on the podium, so he's demonstrated how quick he can actually be. But having had that situation happen to him, if he'd been able to avoid it, he may have actually been up there battling with Lazaro and possibly even Rayner. So I think that's a very fair penalty there. But Meister now needs to try and compensate for that as they come towards the end of the race. If he can make himself 3 seconds faster than the guy behind him, then he'll be able to hold on to P5.
And if you look just in front of Joltik, only 8 tenths, not far in front of him is Meister. It is saying it's a 4-second gap, but as you can see on your screens, it doesn't look like 4 seconds. He is plucking away at that gap, as I believe it was 5 seconds earlier on in the race. But hopefully seeing that time come down, Joltik is going to be pushing as hard as he can.
So yeah, so that 4.5 seconds is how far away he is from the car in front of him. So that's at Nick 10 that he's that far behind of. Joltik's actually only 1.3 behind him. So he is closing in pretty quick on him. Joltik, being the type of driver he is quite consistent in the wet conditions as well anyway. So yeah, I think you're right. I think Joltik will actually be able to catch up to the back of Meister. And well, like you say, with that 3-second time penalty, it does mean Meister is going to be in a world of hurt. Because as it stands, those 3 seconds will knock him down in a P7. And it'll promote both Joltik and Boemels up. They'll be very happy about that. But it will mean that, yeah, Meister's going to be having a really rough race.
Talking about 3-second penalties, we saw at the bottom of our screens, Tortor just get a 3-second penalty, and with the rain coming down heavier now, the drivers are going to have to watch their track limits, and warnings will be given out for track limits. I think the stewards will be a little bit lenient on track limit warnings because of the wet conditions and how slippy the track is, but drivers are definitely going to have to get it stopped through the corners and watch their track limits.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it comes to turn 2. You can run very wide, as we saw Tino Mo do that earlier. He ran pretty wide. He managed to recover himself. He did, didn't capitalise on it, didn't benefit from it, so there was no penalty, there was no warning of any kind. So this corner just coming up here now. The difficulty you got is turn 1 is such a fast corner that if your ballast is a bit too far back, then you will very easily lose the back end. And it becomes very difficult to maintain that level of pace and keep your car going well. But TNMO managed to recover it quite nicely, and Joltik gets a 3-second time penalty, which will be major news to Meister's ears.
Yeah, and it will also be helpful for Boemels, who will be gaining place from Joltik. But Meister is pulling away from Joltik. Joltik only, as you can see, the time just going up as they cross the timing strips across the track. You do see the time just creeping up a little bit and creeping down. I think these drivers are doing very similar lap times and very good drivers, both of them.
So, further updates from the live stewards. On lap 8, there was the pit stop between Meister and Mizzo. Obviously, there was a little battle going on there. It is going to be evaluated whether or not the 5-second stop go should be removed, but it will be evaluated after the race, so we won't know the outcome of that as it stands. Meister will get that 5-second penalty added to the end of his race unless he goes for another pit stop. Either way, we'll see whether or not he gets removed later on. Rexon down there in P15, he's trying to close in on Tortor. 5-10 separates the two of them. Boemels is also chasing after Joltik, who we saw earlier get a 3-second time penalty. I know Boemels also has one. I think he's got a couple actually. So we'll have to keep an eye out. I'm not quite sure exactly who does have how much penalties people do have. I think Rayner's done a very good job of keeping himself clean. Lazzaro too. I know Mizzo does have a 3-second time penalty, which will be very useful for Nickton, who's actually just looking at him right now. I don't know what he's done, but he's just turned on beast mode, and he's right up there now in P4, and he's already closing in on Mizzo, and it's looking like a podium spot, maybe in his reach after all.
And what we've not been talking about a lot is Lazzaro, who has pulled away a lot from Mizzo from when we last saw him, but he is also catching Rayner, who, which is now, and that is Tortor apparently has left the session. Yeah. I don't know if that is connection problems or something else like that, but he has left the session.
It's likely he has just got a connection issue. He will probably be getting an invite from his teammate very shortly to get him back into the race. But we shall see. It's very unfortunate either way for Tortor. Hopefully they fix this going into F1 2019. Codemasters, we have full faith in you. Further afield, Rayner still leading the race. Like you said, Lazaro is closing in on him. He is 2 seconds now. So that gap has increased. Reina must have heard you, and he's just decided to give it the full beans. Mizzo in P3, 5.8 seconds behind Lazaro. So the gap is still increasing between him and Lazaro, but Nickturn is making that gap smaller. So I think it might be that Mizzo has actually just lost pace all of a sudden. I'm not sure if it's just something he's just lost focus. He's not able to focus, you know, given the situation he's got going on at the minute. Meister having from a disaster to a nightmare to hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but a catastrophic race. We'll see. Buemo's P7. He's the next closest driver. So things have started to settle down, and the next sort of, I think, a wave of situations I think we're going to see is when the heavy rain starts to form. It's looking like the rain is actually getting worse. It's looking like the track is actually getting more wet. I'm still not seeing any sort of standing water anywhere. And that's kind of really the main indicator the drivers will be looking for is, do the intermediates feel like they're falling away? Is it caused by the wear of the tyre, or is it because there's actually a lot of standing water around on the track? No puddles are currently in sight, at least not that I can see. So I think the drivers are definitely on the right tyre by staying on the intermediates.
Yeah, I think Meister's race has turned into a nightmare. As we saw him a little bit earlier, he did pick up another 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. As we know, we got a penalty for a bit of contact, but Nickturn now only 9 tenths behind Mizzo, and as we see, Toto has rejoined the session not long after his connection issue, but that has let Inaudible Gamer get past Toto.
Yeah, and fingers crossed he may be able to get himself back into some points. It's only got, well, it's got quite a lot of places and a lot of time to do that in. There is still 7 laps left of this race. With the heavy rain becoming a factor at some point, as we've been informed anyway by the weatherman, it may actually be an opportunity for Toto to be able to pull off a sort of level of an undercut. He may be able to pit earlier than anyone else, but at the right time. If he gauges it just right, he might be able to pull it off. But you know, all these drivers have also experienced in this area anyway, so you know, it's all about where you are on the track at the time of when you need to go into the pits, and whether or not you can be able to pull it off quite nicely.
I think a couple of drivers might decide to pit again to get fresher tyres for the end of the race. As you can see, a lot of them have done 10 laps on those tyres, and Lastro has now pulled that gap down to a 1.7 second gap. It was 2 seconds, but he's gained 3 tenths on Reina and is pulling it down. Lastro, oh, that must be an absolute disaster. He has got a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings on such a good race that won't affect his position. But if Mizzo does get within 3 seconds of Lastro, as we see Nickturn off our screen, makes the move on Mizzo. Now it is Nickton's turn to get within 3 seconds of Lastro to gain up into second place.
Oh, here we go. Mizzo's in the pits. I think this is going to be a wet tyre situation for him now. He's the first one of the lot of them to try it, and I think after he made that mistake with Nickturn, I think he's decided to take that risk and see what he can pull off. Yeah, Nickturn is up in a P3. He's looking good. And Lazaro's 3-second time penalty will be disastrous for him. It could actually cause him a podium, but we will have to wait and see. Beaker's also come into the pits as well, and so has Default. So the drivers are starting to feel as though it's switched tyre weather, although Mizzo's gone onto a fresh set of intermediates. He had a wing change as well to go with it. Beaker has decided to go onto the wet compound tyre, so he's the first of the drivers to do that. Mizzo may have made a huge mistake by not going onto the wets.
Yeah, if we more, you will see some standing water on track, and that will definitely affect the drivers if they run a little bit wide and do catch the edge of that puddle. That will pull the car out wide and unfortunately might end up in the barriers.
Yeah, Mizzo already made a mistake. He ended up in the barriers, and that's why he ended up losing the podium spot. He's also gone all the way down into P10. Yes, the top 9 players will also need to go into the pits within the near future. And Mizzo's praying that it works out for him. But we have been informed that this is now turning into storm weather situation. So the rain may become very heavy. And I have actually seen it once or twice in F1 2018 that the rain has actually caused safety cars in the past. We'll have to keep an eye out as that goes. But I do want to just give you all a penalty update. So Lazaro has 3 seconds of penalties. Meister has 3 seconds of penalties. Obviously that means that Reina and Ethnic 10 do not. Yoltek has 3 seconds. Oh, as we see Buemels coming into the pits. Buemels actually has 3 seconds of penalties as well. So a lot of people are getting 3s all round. Beaker's got a 3 second as well. But I mean, we've just seen him go into the pits and come out on the wet compound tyre. Falsetti's got a 3 second time penalty. Mizzo has got a 3 seconds. TNMO with 3. Default with 3. And I think Inaudible Game has actually not got any. It's Tortol who's next in line. He's also got 6 seconds of penalties. He's also been plagued with connection issues as well. So, Buemels is pitted as well. He's coming out onto the wet tyres too. I want to see where Mizzo is. He is actually ahead of Buemels. But I think Beaker and Default have actually done a really good timing on the wet tyre change. Mizzo doesn't look that uncomfortable, but Beaker and Default are really going to be giving it a good fun.
I was going to say Mizzo might have made an absolutely terrible or absolutely amazing decision. It was very good of him to pit early, knowing all the other drivers in front will have to pit. But it might have been the wrong decision to go on to another set of intermediates. We will see later on in the race, within the next 5 laps, if it does turn into storm weather. And that'll be very unfortunate if it did for Mizzo, having the class of driving that he has done so far.
Yeah, it'd be a massive hit for his race situation. I mean, Falsetti also had a major issue at the beginning of the race. He's done a very good job to recover himself up into the top 10 again. I mean, granted, you know, Mizzo and Beacon Default have all pitted, and so has Buemels, so that's how he's gained those extra 4 places. But he's still doing a very solid display on this intermediate tyre, and looking at how he's going on the same tyre, he's actually doesn't look like he's struggling. So if Beaker and Default and Buemels have all pitted too early, then we could see that Fossetti actually climbs those 3 places anyway, regardless of whether or not he pits. Which, looking at the weather, I think he's not going to have much of a choice but to pit. I think this lap is where we're going to see him driving straight in.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see when the other drivers pit. It would be very interesting if one of the drivers in that top 8, sorry, do decide to stay on the tyres that there are. That would be a very brave decision, but it might not pay off if they do that.
No, Fosse getting a 3 second time penalty. That is not what he wanted. That makes it up to 6 seconds now. So that's unfortunate for him. He's doing a good job to keep it together, but I think he now is realising actually maybe the intermediates are no longer the tyre I should be on. I should definitely get himself in, switch over to the wets and go from there. Yeah, like you said, it can work out if you can go a bit further. 4 laps remaining of this session, so ideally you don't want to pit if you can avoid it. And Fosse, I think he's actually going to stay on the intermediates to the end. Mizzo's also done the same thing anyway, but he's obviously pit and lost so many places. He's gone really wide as well. He actually doesn't have enough fuel to make it to the end of the session. He's going to be running in lean for quite a while, I reckon.
Yeah, that could be an absolute disaster for Mizzo if he does not make it to the end of the race on his amount that he has. It is still on yellow, so that means he may not be able to make it to the end of the race. But Reina, he might be able to stay on his tyres that he does have on. But as we see, Lastro has now pulled it down to a 1.3 second gap. Reina's definitely going to be trying to stay on the tyres if he can, as he's coming up on a back marker, which is going to be Rexon.
Yeah. So I have been informed that some of these tyres on these front runners here that are still on the intermediates, they look very close to popping. So that'll be interesting. That'll be a major issue. Oh, Rexon getting a little bit all out of shape, but makes it very easy for Reina to go past him. It's going to be the same for Lazaro, who is Rexon's teammate, and Nickton is still way back there, so he's going to have to do what he can. But yeah, I think it'd be a major issue. And to be honest, it'll be just Meister's luck if it was his tyres that popped. He's already had a pretty rough race so far, and the tyre popping now would just be the straw that broke the camel's back. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But at the same time, I want to see someone's tyre pop just for the drama that can come with it.
Yeah, it definitely would be interesting for us to commentate on, and it would be interesting for the viewers at home, but it would definitely be interesting for the driver whose tyres popped, but definitely not in a good way.
So, looking at Reina and Lazaro, 1 second separates the two. Lazaro does have that 3-second time penalty, which Ape Nickturn's trying his best to capitalise on. But with it being 8.5 seconds behind, Lazaro is going to be very cozy. With 2 laps to go, it's pretty much a P2 for Lazaro. Default gets a 3-second time penalty. It's just whether or not he's able to pass Reina. And actually, it's not so long ago we saw Lazaro's tyre explode. I think it was in Bahrain where his tyre blew and he actually couldn't make it. So whether or not that's going to happen again here is a whole different story. We'll see. With 2 laps to go, Lazaro, you've got a lot of work to do. Let's see what you can pull off.
Yeah, but as we see, he has pulled the time down to 1 second with 2 laps left to go. It definitely will be a close one. Will he be able to do it or will he not? It's going to be the story of...
I'm not sure if you've disconnected or your mic has just cut out, but you went robotic and disappeared. So I'm going to continue whilst my co-commentator recovers. Reina P1 still, Lazaro P2, and Nickturn P3, Mace to P4. It's pretty business as usual further down. Yolte, Yonti, Copy, Forsetti, Mizzo. Mizzo and Forsetti being that far down is a bit of a surprise. Mizzo obviously had a number of issues throughout this race, and I think my co-commentator is back.
Yeah, it must have just disconnected whilst I was talking. But as I was saying, it will be a lot of work for Lazaro to do. As we see, Reina have a little bit of a problem off that corner, but Sector 2 and Sector 3 have both yellow flags. Don't know what's happened there, but Lazaro will have a lot of work to do to get a 3-second gap over Reina.
Yeah, and also look at the track. That is a very wet track. This is definitely wet tyre territory now, and it's the question of how much can Bika, Buemels and Default capitalise on the fact that it is wet. These intermediate tyres will start to disappear. I don't think that they're necessarily going to be able to climb all the way up into a podium position unless the tyres blow up, which looking at all these, the top 6 are all on 16-lap-old intermediates. So if anyone's tyres are going to go, it's going to be these fellas. And that's Rexon right there on the back of his teammate Lazaro. He's trying to unlap himself. I fully expect they'll be in communication to each other, trying to let each other go. There he is. There's Rexon. It just there's literally a live example of how much faster the wet conditioned tyres actually are in this situation. Reina did gain 6/10 because Rexon unlapped himself, but you know that's a team situation. They just need to have that little bit of conversation there, and it's not quite how they wanted it to be. Forsetti and Mizzo giving each other a toe. Forsetti's right there on the back end of Copy. It's now going to be a battle for P7. Oh, Fossetti's made a mistake. He's off track. That is not how you want to be ending the British Grand Prix. You've lost so many places now. He's done such a good job of recovering. He's going to be so frustrated with himself after that one. I mean, at least it's raining so he can cool off after how angry he's going to be from that mistake. But looking further down, Buemels and Bika, they're now both into the points. They're going to be very happy with that. And if Bika's got anything to say about it, he's going to be trying to double his chances. But look at, actually just pointing out how many points that are available for these drivers. This is a 4-way battle for P7. If Copy makes a mistake, he's going to lose to Mizzo, which I think he already is. Mizzo's going to fly past. Buemels just tears on past that McLaren. Here comes Bika doing the same thing as well, going round the outside. Except if Mizzo can hold the inside line. There's a bit of contact. Buemels is pointing in the wrong direction. He's now off into the grass. That is disastrous for the Renault driver. He was in the points. He's now out of the points. And it promotes Forsetti back in a P10.
And if you do look back up the front, there must have been a mistake from Reina because it's now only a 3/10 gap. Lazaro knows he won't be able to win the battle off track with his penalties, but he's definitely hoping that he's going to win it on track as Reina comes down the back straight into the right-hander. Is he going to be able to maintain his lead for the rest of this final lap?
I don't think he is. I've been informed that Reina's rear left tyre is just near 90% wear, so he has almost no tyre left of his car. He's got to make it to the end of this lap if he wants to hold on tight and take the race win. It does mean that Lazaro is going to be giving it the full beans. But Reina, can he hold it together through the final few corners? He's done an extremely good job to make it this far on. He's been so delicate. Look at the back end trying to fight away from him. All he's wanting to do is just snap off and go home. But he is bringing it with him. He's going to make it around the second to last corner. And as he comes into the final corner for the final time, he will cross the line and take the British Grand Prix. With Lazaro coming in P2. And Nick Turn crosses the line and goes P3. There is your podium. Meister and Yonti, they are the next two to cross the line. Beaker's done an amazing job to get up there in a P6. Look at the valuable points that he's had. That pitting there and going onto the wets really worked out for him. That is exactly what he wanted. And yeah, wow, what an absolute... Is that a pop tyre? It is. Yoltek's got a blown rear left. That's why Beaker was able to overtake him.
And it does look like Yoltek is going to try and finish the race, though, with a pop tyre. As we see a little bit of a battle between Copy and Mizzo. And it looks like Yoltek might be a factor in this final corner. But no, he isn't. He runs a little bit wide. And he does finish the race. And let's run over this top 10. It is going to be VSR Reina from Lastero, Inicton, Meister, Yondi, Copy, Beaker, Yoltek, Mizzo, and Buemos rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, and then Default being the best of the rest. But I just want to point out, we saw Mizzo and Copy battling on the second to last all the way through to the pit straight at the actual finish line. Look where Copy is now. He jumped 2 places as a result of keeping such a clean race. That is really good work for him. He's absolutely nailed it to get some very valuable points for his team. With it, Nick Turn finishing on the podium in P3. That's going to really bump the Williams drivers even further. I mean, they're obviously P1 at the minute, and now with a 1-point lead, they're going to be jumping so much further away. And when we come into the next Grand Prix, they'll be very comfortable going into it.
Yeah, it will be interesting looking at that Constructors' Championship right now, because Nickton did not have as good as a finish. It is the podium right now. No, Nickton did end up getting 3rd place. But he did not get as good as a finish as he was hoping, and that will have an effect on the Constructors' Championships.
Yeah, absolutely. So, congratulations to Reina after such an amazing run for him. He did exactly what he wanted to, and he lived up to his name. Reina dominated here in the wet. And I've got one very easy question. I'm pretty sure we already know the answer, but who is your driver of the day?
You might disagree with this, but I'm definitely going to say Beaker. He had an amazing drive back from the back of the grid. He had a couple of problems on the first couple of laps, dropped back down, he made his way back up to 7th place.
No, I think that's a very fair shout. I think Beaker did do a very good job, especially considering how poor his qualifying was. He started off in P13. And to get himself, he made the right decision. I think it's a credit to his engineering team as well. I think they've obviously helped him and guided him to make the right decision, strategy call. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with him being a very strong factor. Would I put? I'm just looking at the rest of the drivers. You know what? I'm going to give Copy driver of the day for me. Copy did a very good job of keeping his head straight, kept it clean, kept it consistent. He's one of the few drivers that actually did. And as a result of it, he went from P8 all the way up to P6. So
yeah, very good. Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
Very good drive from Copy. But I'm also keeping in mind Yoltek. He did finish with a blown rear tyre. And he did go through those final corners with a blown rear tyre.
It did. So that is it here from us at the Rwagnation League Grand Prix at Britain. It's been an absolute pleasure to commentate for you. I've been Ben Raggan-McConnell, and having on my desk has been Kai Bacchini. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure commentating with you as always. Hopefully we can do this far more often because it's just incredible. So let's keep that going. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.